Hello string players, welcome back to my channel. In this video we're going to tackle the issue of excess tension during vibrato. I will talk about some of the physical aspects behind this tension, and I will give you 4 ways that you can address it right away. If you're new to this channel, my name is Langerman and I post videos every week to help you along your musical journey. Please take this moment now to subscribe down below and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss any of my weekly videos. If you'd rather see a mini version of these, or if you want to listen to me practicing instead, then head over to Instagram and follow me at Violinna. And also, be sure to sign up for my bi-monthly newsletter so that you can have access to some exclusive insights outside of YouTube. For many years, vibrato has been one of the biggest roadblocks when it came to developing my own technique and musical expression. I noticed that vibrato came so natural for some people, and I would always envy that, because for me it was just always a constant battle, and especially when I was under pressure in a performance situation. And this was a real struggle for me, especially during college, and whenever I would get nervous in a performance situation, my vibrato would become very, very stiff, and in some cases non-existent, and I would be very embarrassed about that. So this video is not going to be about any of the psychological things behind this, but I might talk about it in a future video. Instead, at the end of showing you the 4 steps to address tension, I will show you a special exercise that I like to do to help improve flexibility and mobility in my fingers. So in the ideal scenario, when vibrato is done with the most natural instincts, it should actually help the fingers feel more alive, more fluid, more expressive, and more agile. Yet it's amazing how overall tension can cause such a big roadblock in just something that takes up small muscles, and it can really cause plateaus and make us frustrated. And this tension usually causes difficulty in having that flexibility and mobility that's necessary, especially in that first joint. If your hand is tense when you vibrate, and that first joint, the one closest to the nail, if it appears to be locked, it will be very, very difficult to vibrate at all. So I always check for 4 things to help identify the source of the tension. Then I do a vibrato exercise to help really unlock that first joint and really feel more free. Oh, and here's a hint. The source of tension is not necessarily in the fingers or in the hand. Even if it appears to be, even if it appears that the hand is tense, it's not necessarily the source of the tension. So that was a very interesting discovery for me. The first thing I'm going to do is when I do vibrato, I'm going to check if my shoulder, even when I'm holding the violin while I'm playing, check if your shoulder is hunched forward. Sometimes when we get nervous on stage, one of the first things that can easily happen, or if we're playing a difficult passage, one of the first things that can happen is our shoulders can come in like this, and we want to really control the instrument. And also on top of that, the way we hold the violin or viola, then it's such an unnatural way of holding it. The shoulder has to come forward and the arm has to come around, so it's easy to be very tight over here, and that could cause so much tension. So check if you can keep your shoulder open, keep your chest open. Even when you're in this position, there's a difference between this and, see if I can, if I have my bow. But if I do the same, it's okay for a while, but if you keep going, if you're playing something, so like I'm already starting to feel a lot of tension right in here, around my armpit area actually. So try to, keep the space, create some space over here between the shoulder and the instrument. I'm not using a shoulder rest, but actually I was teaching a lesson the other day, and my student, she was raising her shoulder even though she was wearing a shoulder rest. It creates so much tension right away, and it's hard to play freely. So this is usually the big culprit for me, actually. Usually, you know, when I get nervous or if I'm playing something difficult, I don't even realize I'm doing this, and it causes the fingers to lock up. And I wonder, why isn't my vibrato not working? I'm doing all my vibrato exercises every single day. What's going on? So the problem was not even in the hand. The problem was over here in the fundamentals, you know, check your posture also. So number 2, now let's go over to the hand. So let's take a look at the base of the first finger. And when you vibrate, see what it's doing is pushing against the fingerboard, the neck of the violin. So sometimes when we get tense, especially when we're doing double stops, it's really too easy to grab the neck of the violin, especially if there is some kind of intense musical moment. It's kind of ironic because we have to do the opposite. If you're playing some intense music, you actually have to be very relaxed here. So it's opposite of what the instinct might tell you. So check to make sure that there is space over here between the base of the first finger and the neck, because then you can move it. Then you can create the motion. If I'm stuck like this, it's going to be very, very difficult to vibrate right away. Even if I keep my shoulders open, my first finger is stuck there, it's very hard to vibrate. I need to release there. Number 3, we're going to check the thumb. So I'm going to stand this way. Check what the thumb is doing, because depending on what finger you're vibrating on, and this also depends on your hand, check for 2 things. Number 1, check that you're not squeezing right here in this space between the thumb and the index finger, because it's very easy to get tense here. But more importantly, check if it's able to assist your fingers. So for example, I have very small hands. So even in first position on a full-size violin, if I have to vibrate 3rd or 4th fingers, it's better if, you know, if I'm even going from up to 3rd finger to vibrate, to do this kind of technique, it's better for my thumb to just move slightly to assist it. If my thumb is stuck back there, it's going to be very difficult. Same with the 4th finger. So I'll just show like this. Maybe you can see, I don't know. So 1st finger, this is fine. 2nd finger, seems okay. But if I do 3rd finger, you see, my thumb is not quite supporting it. If I just move it like this already, there we go. Now that feels better. Same thing with the pinky. You see, I had to let my thumb assist my pinky so that I can vibrate. If I leave it over there very, very hard, you can see right away how tight that looks. The thumb can really help because it brings the center of the weight towards the finger that's doing vibrato. It really kind of optimizes that finger. It's different. Now this is totally different than if we're doing something fast, like playing chromatic or playing fast scales. That's a different kind of technique, and I'll talk about that in a different video. Okay, so now number 4. This one I found also very, very helpful, and that's to practice hanging the fingers from the fingerboard. So what I mean by that is, you know, when we put our left hand up, we can hold it up here, or we can hold it a little bit lower down here. You know, by default, the base of the first finger right here by the knuckles, that's going to make the contact with the instrument by default. What I noticed is that during vibrato, and of course we release some of that contact by the base of the finger, I noticed that during vibrato, at least for me, to do 3rd and 4th finger better, it seems to be more effective if I let the weight of my hand just hang from the fingerboard. So, you know, if you imagine that there is a big weight pulling your arm down, like if, I don't know, if you have a very heavy handbag, sometimes I take too many things with me to the city, you know, and I regret it because I like to read on the train. I'm like, why did I take so many things with me? My bag is so heavy. So, you know, pretend you have a very heavy bag and you hang it from here. And you can even pretend that there's something heavy just pulling the weight of your arm down. And you're just hanging on like this. It actually helps these joints to relax, in a sense. So I practice doing this, and even my thumb's not even touching the violin when I practice this. You know, it's just to really feel the weight of the arm. Because when we put the weight down naturally, we don't squeeze like this. You know, right now, if I hold my arm up like this, it's all tense looking. But if I release everything, from the elbow down even, right away, these joints, they become more flexible. So, you know, experiment. I know for me, for example, if I have to vibrate my first and second finger, my arm likes to be a little bit more from above. But for the third and fourth, I do like to hang my fingers a little bit off the fingerboard like this. I'm not saying that that's what's going to work for you, because we all have different hands. So you do have to experiment and, you know, do it without the bow, then do it with the bow, go back and forth. And of course, do it on different strings, different positions, especially where it's difficult. Up here, you might have to do something completely different. You know, you might need to do what I'm doing and have the side of the palm resting against the violin like this. So it really depends. So you have to try things out. So before we do our vibrato exercise, let's just do a quick recap of everything. The location of the tension is not necessarily the source. So be sure to check your shoulder, your chest, see if it's open. Make sure you're not doing this. Check the base of your first finger, see if it's squeezing the neck of the violin. Then the thumb, see if it's given enough support to the vibrating finger. And then finally, we practiced hanging our fingers from the fingerboard. So now I will show you the vibrato exercise that I really like to do, and it's actually in combination with an octave shift. And we're going to do it on the G string, starting with the note A. So with the first finger, I will vibrate the A and go up an octave with a very slow vibrato. Shift. And back. And then you repeat the same thing going up the chromatic scale. So I'll do B flat with my second finger. Be natural. You can keep going further. So this exercise achieves two things at the same time. It makes you practice vibrating at the beginning of the note, right after the shift, and it really opens up that first joint and keeps it flexible. All right? So with the bowing, it's free bowing really. You don't have to do a specific tempo, or I mean, if you want to, you can go ahead and do that. But I don't really do any specific tempo. I do free bowing on this. So that's it. That's my exercise. I really like to warm up with this. So that's it. I hope that this video gave you some helpful ideas. Let me know in the comments below what you're working on these days and what's your biggest takeaway. If you enjoyed this video, share it with a friend or a colleague, and don't forget to give me a thumbs up so that YouTube is more likely to share these kind of videos with you in the future. All right? So happy practicing, and I will see you next week.